On a quiet D.C. street, Officer Daniel Harris drew his gun on a black woman walking alone at dusk. His voice sharp with authority, unaware that in mere minutes, her CA badge would turn his smug laughter into stunned silence, and his own handcuffs. The evening was humid, the kind that clung to the skin, and Officer Daniel Harris was restless. He'd been patrolling the same D.C. neighborhood for hours, his radio crackling with routine calls. At 38, Harris had been with the Metropolitan Police Department for a decade, long enough to think he'd seen it all. His partner, Officer Mike Callahan, sat in the passenger seat of their cruiser, scrolling through his phone, half listening to the dispatcher. Harris's eyes scanned the street, catching on a lone figure walking briskly along the sidewalk. A black woman, mid-30s, dressed in a dark blazer and slacks, a small crossbody bag slung over her shoulder. Something about her pace, steady, purposeful, set Harris on edge. "Hey, Callahan," Harris said, nudging his partner. "You see her. She's moving like she's got somewhere to be." Callahan barely glanced up. "So, people walk, Dan. Let's not make a thing out of nothing." Harris ignored him, his hand already on the door handle. "She's got a bag. Could be anything in there. I'm gonna check it out." Callahan sighed, setting his phone down. "Man, you're always looking for something. Fine, let's go." Harris stepped out of the cruiser, his boots hitting the pavement with a heavy thud. The woman, unaware, kept walking, her phone pressed to her ear. Harris's hand rested on his holster as he approached, his voice cutting through the evening air. "Ma'am, stop right there." The woman paused, lowering her phone slowly. Her name was Dr. Lauren Mitchell, a 35-year-old CIA operations officer, though Harris had no way of knowing that yet. She turned to face him, her expression calm but guarded. "Is there a problem, officer?" Harris sized her up, his eyes narrowing. "I need you to keep your hands where I can see them. What's in the bag?" Lauren's jaw tightened, but her voice stayed even. "My personal belongings. I'm just heading home." "Hands up now," Harris barked, his fingers twitching toward his gun. Callahan, trailing behind, shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. Lauren raised her hands slowly, her eyes locked on Harris. She'd been through enough training to know escalation was a choice, and she wasn't going to make it for him. "I'm complying," she said, her tone measured. "But I'd like to know why you're stopping me." Harris stepped closer, his hand now gripping the handle of his service weapon. "You don't get to ask questions. I need to see ID, and I need to see what's in that bag." Lauren's mind raced. She'd been in worse situations, undercover ops in hostile territories, high-stakes interrogations, but this was different. This was her own country, her own city, and yet here she was, staring down the barrel of a potential misunderstanding that could go south fast. "My ID is in my bag," she said carefully. "May I reach for it?" Harris hesitated, then nodded sharply. "Slowly. No sudden moves." Lauren lowered one hand, moving deliberately to unzip her bag. She pulled out a slim wallet and held it up. "I'm going to open this to show you my ID, okay?" Harris's grip on his gun tightened. "Just do it." She flipped open the wallet, revealing a badge with the unmistakable CIA seal. Harris's eyes flicked to it, and for a moment he froze. Then a smirk spread across his face. "CIA. Yeah, right. That's a good one. Where'd you get that, eBay?" Lauren's expression didn't waver. "It's real, officer. My name is Dr. Lauren Mitchell. I'm an operations officer with the Central Intelligence Agency. You can verify it." Harris laughed, a short, derisive sound that echoed off the nearby buildings. "Oh, come on. You expect me to believe that? What's next? You're gonna tell me your Secret Service too?" Callahan, now standing a few feet behind, shifted his weight. "Dan, maybe we should." "Shut it, Mike," Harris snapped, his eyes still on Lauren. "This is fake." "Gotta be." "Turn around, hands behind your back." Lauren's heart rate spiked, but she kept her voice steady. "Officer, I'm not resisting. But you're making a mistake. Call it in." Verify the badge. Harris shook his head, pulling his cuffs from his belt. You're not telling me how to do my job. Turn around now. Lauren's mind raced through her options. She could comply, let this play out, and deal with the fallout later. Or she could push back, risk escalating things further. She chose the middle ground. I'm not turning around until you verify my credentials. My badge number is 472-19-305. Call it in. Harris's smirk faded, replaced by a scowl. He stepped closer, his gun now half drawn from its holster. You don't give orders here. Last chance, turn around. Callahan finally spoke up, his voice low but firm. Dan, hold up. Let's just check it. Takes 2 minutes. Harris shot his partner a glare. You buying this? She's playing us. I'm not playing anything, Lauren said, her voice cutting through the tension. I'm telling you the truth. You're about to detain a federal officer without cause. Think about what that means for you. The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Harris's hand wavered on his gun, but he didn't draw it fully. Callahan pulled out his radio, stepping back toward the cruiser. I'm calling it in, he muttered, ignoring Harris's protests. Lauren stood still, her hands still raised, her eyes locked on Harris. She knew the math of moments like this. Split seconds could change everything. She'd been trained to stay calm under pressure, but this wasn't a training exercise. This was real, and the stakes were personal. On the radio, Callahan relayed the badge number to dispatch. His voice steady but tense. Yeah, badge number 472-19-305. Says she's CIA. Can you verify? Harris scoffed, pacing a small circle. This is a waste of time. She's stalling. Lauren ignored him, focusing on her breathing. She'd been in situations where her life depended on her ability to stay composed, but this felt different. This wasn't a foreign operative or a hostile informant. This was a cop, someone who was supposed to be on the same side of the law, and yet here she was, treated like a suspect for no reason other than walking down the street. The radio crackled, and a voice came through, crisp and authoritative. Badge number confirmed. Dr. Lauren Mitchell, active CIA operations officer. Stand down and do not detain. Harris's face went slack, the cuffs dangling in his hand. Callahan turned to him, his expression a mix of relief and unease. You heard it, Dan. She's legit. Harris shook his head, his voice low and disbelieving. No way. This has to be some kind of mix-up. There's no mix-up, Lauren said, lowering her hand slowly. I told you who I am. Now, I'd like to know why you stopped me in the first place. Harris's jaw clenched, his pride clearly stung. You were acting suspicious. Fast walk bag phone call. Could have been anything. Could have been, Lauren repeated, her tone sharp but controlled. But it wasn't. You pulled a gun on me without cause, laughed at my credentials, and were about to cuff me. That's not protocol, officer. Callahan stepped between them, his hands raised. Okay, let's all take a breath here. Ma'am, we're sorry for the misunderstanding. Don't apologize for me, Harris snapped, his voice rising. She's not my boss. Lauren's eyes narrowed. No, I'm not. But I know someone who is. She pulled her phone from her bag, her movements deliberate, and dialed a number. Harris watched, his expression a mix of defiance and unease. Callahan shifted uncomfortably, sensing the situation slipping out of control. This is Dr. Mitchell, Lauren said into the phone, her voice calm but firm. I need to speak with Director Hayes. Yes, it's urgent. Harris's eyes widened slightly, but he doubled down. You're bluffing. You think you can scare me with a phone call? Lauren ignored him, speaking into the phone. Director, I've been detained by an MPD officer without cause. He drew his weapon and refused to verify my credentials until his partner intervened. I'm at 14th and U Street. Thank you. She ended the call and slipped the phone back into her bag, her gaze steady on Harris. You might want to call your supervisor now. Harris laughed, but it was forced, lacking the confidence of before. "You're full of it. Nobody's coming." Callahan, however, was already on his radio, his voice low as he requested a supervisor to their location. The air felt thicker now, the weight of the situation settling over all three of them. Lauren stood quietly, her posture relaxed but her mind alert. She'd dealt with enough high-stakes scenarios to know that this was far from over. Within 10 minutes, a black SUV pulled up, its tinted windows gleaming under the streetlights. Two men in suits stepped out, their movements precise. The older of the two, a man with graying hair and a commanding presence, approached the group. His badge, also CIA, was clipped to his belt. "Dr. Mitchell," he said, nodding to her. "You okay?" "I'm fine, Agent Carter," Lauren replied. "But this officer needs a refresher on protocol." Harris's face paled as Carter turned to him. "Officer Harris, is it? I'm Agent John Carter, CIA. You've got some explaining to do." Harris opened his mouth, then closed it, his bravado crumbling. "I was just doing my job." She looked suspicious. "Suspicious," Carter repeated, his tone flat. "You drew your weapon on a federal officer, dismissed her credentials, and nearly arrested her without verifying her identity. That's not doing your job. That's a problem." Callahan stepped forward, his hands raised. "Sir, I called it in as soon as she showed the badge. I tried to de-escalate." Carter nodded. "Noted, Officer Callahan. But your partner here made the call to escalate in the first place." Another vehicle pulled up, a police cruiser this time. A woman in a captain's uniform stepped out, her expression grim. "Harris, Callahan, what's going on here?" Harris started to speak, but Carter cut him off. "Captain, I'm Agent Carter with the CIA. Your officer detained one of our operatives without cause, drew his weapon, and disregarded her credentials. We'll be filing a formal complaint, and I strongly suggest you review his conduct." The captain's eyes flicked to Harris, then to Lauren, who stood quietly, her expression unreadable. "Dr. Mitchell, do you want to press charges?" Lauren considered it for a moment, her mind weighing the consequences. She'd seen enough conflict to know that punishment wasn't always the answer, but accountability was. "Not at this time," she said finally. "But I want his actions documented, and I want him off the street until he's retrained." Harris's face flushed with anger, but he stayed silent, his earlier confidence gone. The captain nodded. "Understood. Harris, you're suspended pending investigation. Hand over your badge and weapon." Harris froze, his hand hovering over his holster. "You can't be serious." "Do it," the captain said, her voice leaving no room for argument. Harris slowly unclipped his badge and removed his gun, handing them to the captain. Callahan stood to the side, his expression a mix of guilt and relief. The captain turned to Lauren. "I'm sorry for this, Dr. Mitchell. We'll handle it internally." Lauren nodded. "I appreciate that. But this isn't just about me. This is about making sure it doesn't happen to someone else." Carter placed a hand on her shoulder. "Let's get you out of here. We'll take it from here." As Lauren walked toward the SUV with Carter, she glanced back at Harris, who stood motionless, the cuffs now on his own wrists as the captain led him to the cruiser. She felt no satisfaction, only a heavy sense of resolve. This wasn't the first time she'd faced something like this, and it wouldn't be the last. But she'd keep doing her job, badge or no badge, because that's who she was. The SUV pulled away, leaving Harris and Callahan behind, the weight of the moment lingering in the humid DC air. For Lauren, it was just another day. Another test of her strength, her patience, and her commitment to a world that didn't always see her for who she was. The aftermath was swift. The MPD launched an internal investigation into Harris's conduct, and his suspension stretched into weeks as the department reviewed body cam footage and witness statements. Lauren's complaint, backed by the CIA, ensured that the incident wasn't swept under the rug. Harris was eventually reassigned to desk duty, his career trajectory altered by a single moment of poor judgment. Lauren, meanwhile, returned to her work at Langley. Her days filled with briefings, covert operations, and the quiet weight of knowing she carried a badge that didn't always protect her. She didn't speak of the incident often, but when she did, it was with a clarity that cut through the noise. "It's not about one officer," she'd say. "It's about a system that lets these moments happen." For Callahan, the incident was a wake-up call. He requested additional training on de-escalation and bias, determined to be part of the change Lauren had spoken of. He never forgot the look in her eyes that night. Calm, unflinching, and resolute. And for Harris, the cuffs were a turning point. He'd laughed at Lauren's badge, dismissed her authority, and paid the price. But in the quiet moments when he replayed the encounter in his mind, he wondered where he'd gone wrong, and whether he'd ever get the chance to make it right.